Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be back. I'm grateful to be here. Everything's going fine. A lot going on in the world, a lot of elections and stuff like that, and we're going to cover a lot of that stuff. But today, what we're going to talk about in some instances is political correctness being the bane of our national existence. So, yeah, like the rest of you, sometimes I just scratch my head and say, what the fuck, America?
What the fuck America did to me? Trickery or conspiracy? Good white girl, not Hillary, kidding me. Nothing gonna change my sensibility. Life's a bitch, give it all the chivalry. Overheard in a broke man's soliloquy. Buzz guns on, break them down lyrically. Ring bells, I'm talking about liberty. Not tripping, shit got slippery. Far from the truth in which proximity? Real authenticity, can't rate well when you're false officially. Leave marks be parts of history. Who do we charge for the scars initially? Watch your enemies. Everybody brother ended up shot Kennedys.
All right, so political correctness, again, I already said, the bane of our national existence. It's essentially censorship. It's the beginning of censorship when you begin to sort of influence and try to control people's thoughts, and it's almost like it's really peer pressure at the most base levels that there are. In other words, if you're not with the in crowd, then you're with the out crowd. You know what I mean? So, but what it means to me, really, though, also is a suspension of common sense. In other words, if you look at any situation that's remotely, I don't know, controversial, and I'll give you a few of them. We're going to pick one tonight to talk about specifically. Basically, you can't look at it with any common sense whatsoever because you have to toe the line. And I'm going to give you the example. This is basically what's required of being politically correct. It's almost as though you have to have your head in the sand like an ostrich. So you can't bring any of your prior knowledge or experience to anything, at all. This is the way I think of it. You're playing hide and seek with a 2-year-old. The 2-year-old doesn't really understand what's going on. It's hide and seek and it's fun and she's playing with dad and it's all nice. But okay, it's her turn to hide. She's in the corner like this. We see you. But you can't say that. You can't say, look, you dumb bastard, you're supposed to hide and then I find you. No. Instead, what you do is you play along and you're like, where is she? You're such a good hider. You're such a good hider. So that's kind of what it is to me. So all right, so we can't use any common sense whatsoever. Political correctness, the beginnings of censorship, we can go on and on for days. Specifically, though, I'm going to relate it to a couple subjects that, we haven't touched on much lately. So, for example, how about Muslim invasions versus Muslim immigration? Or maybe black on black crime. Two touchy little subjects that we all have to be very politically correct about. So, here we go. Muslims it is. Okay. All right, so there's a difference between immigration and invasion. For example, when the forefathers of Whitey came to the United States, it was sort of like the same type of thing. Like, our people thought they had discovered what the hell they call it, the new world, and this and that. Well, meanwhile, there are already some other indigenous peoples there. And you know what we did? In a way, we took advantage of their kindness. They were nice to us. They taught us how to plant corn. They taught us this and that. What did we teach them? Well, we taught them how to bang girls. We taught them how to drink liquor, how to shoot guns, all this stuff. Kind of good stuff, really, at the end of the day. Hey, you know what I mean? Terrible. But you know what? By the end of it, the guy bought Manhattan for $26 and a set of fucking anal beads, and that was the end of that. Thing is about it, it was a giant fruited plain. The Indians were fine. Whatever. What happened was, though, People were fleeing from their shitbag country, their overtaxation, their lack of trade possibilities. That's what the idiot was looking for, was places to sell spices. There's a difference between immigration or emigration and invasion. When you are an immigrant, like many white Western Europeans were, you come to this country eschewing your filthy homeland. It's way better here. Way better. Even though, guess what? Irish were persecuted. Blacks are persecuted. Whitey of all types was persecuted. And some people were even bought and sold as slaves. The ultimate degradation. So, the point is, those people left their cultures, their lives, their family members in many cases behind in search of a new way known as the American way, or so soon came to be known as. Why? Because there are several things that are unique in this land. One is a constitution which states that you have the freedom of speech, to associate, pursuit of liberty, blah, 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 blah. We all know the goddamn thing. So it's not an accident that all this happened. Okay? Whereas, wouldn't it have been different if the Irishmen came and they all formed their own little enclave and they had their no-go zones and this and that, and on top of that, they preached their religion, and if we didn't join it, we were in for not even damnation. We were in for violence, possibly, until we saw the light. The Muslim, and I call it an invasion. Only reason it's an invasion is because it seeks to preserve a certain culture, a certain attitude, and most certainly a very specific religious ideology. Now listen, it's all, and this is where the politically correctness comes in, because we're just bending over backwards and taking it right in the pooper, and I have to ask myself, what's in it for, not me, mostly me, but us, or me, mostly me, or us? Because when other nationalities emigrated, I guess some of my mutt family, who the fuck even knows where they came from? But I'm guessing some in whitedom somewhere, right? I don't know what they did, but they came here and they most certainly learned English immediately. Why? Because English is the language of money, and still is. They wanted to be Americans. They wanted to come in there and they wanted to throw stuff into the stew. And that's where I think they got the dopey melting pot idea from. They wanted to put something in. Well, I don't have any ground beef, but I've got these carrots I grew. Chuck them in, beautiful. Well, all I have is these beets. Chuck them in, let's go. Now we all sit down and eat. That's the American way. However, the one guy that was the guy who had the meeting hall and had the plates and had everything because he took a risk and took his fucking money and he bought all that stuff, that's where we all ate. And guess what? He made money off the whole fucking thing. All right, so in terms of Muslim invasion versus emigration or immigration, depending on where you're standing. This is another example of governments, and this is all part of this, larger, dare I say, New World Order. Yeah, I do say it. Yeah, I said it. It is kind of what it is. I mean, I have to ask myself, why? What's in it for us? What's in it for Merkel in Germany? Okay, here's what's going on there. She's the one who started the whole thing, and they're overrunning the towns, and it's just, they're disrespecting the host cities. They just want to be so liberal, and we just love everyone, and our tolerance oozes from our pores. Meanwhile, That's all well and good for you peeps living behind the fences, but your little towns are being overrun by people who are not interested in becoming Germans. Yes, you're feeling the guilt from the Hitler nonsense. Of course you are. And you're paying these guys back? Why don't you give the Hebes back their fucking artwork? But again, I digress. Here's what the Germans are doing with themselves. They're monitoring, because this makes them feel good. Now, this doesn't help anybody. They're monitoring social media posts and so forth. So I'd already be fucking hung up in a noose. You know, and so if you say something hateful or something offensive. Now in America, we've got safe places in our colleges. So don't worry about that. But if you're in Germany, while the elites, yes, we want more and more. It just shows how tolerant we are and how we just want everyone to be one big happy family, and there's no borders, there's no nations. This is what the hell they're up to. These little rat bastards, that's what they're up to. So they have their little Gestapo, and they are watching who says what about, well, this happened over here, and this guy raped this girl, and this and that. And then guess what? If you say something hateful, God forbid something against Islam, then the little Gestapo comes to your house, and maybe arrests you. You understand? Couple of times. Google it. I don't have time to do all your research. I did this much. They come to your house, and they say, now, was that a hateful statement, or were you just a hothead that day? Because we've been monitoring you for a while. This goddamn dumb-ass German government has time for that nonsense. But if one of their citizens is raped, and we've seen videos of it before, and we're going to see it in a little while, and they look for help from their government to whom they pay taxes, that's the sound of crickets. All right, so, again, not to just, beat a dead horse, but I have to ask myself, and anyone who's not that person playing hide and seek with a 2-year-old, we see what's going on. Why? Why does our president want to have many, many, many Muslim alleged refugees, military-age men and whatnot? Why? What's in it for them? What's in it for Germany? Everybody wants to send them back already because they disrespect the host country. So anyway, it's not to pick on Muslims, but again, the point is that you have to assimilate. You have to assimilate if you go to a bar with your girlfriend that she knows everybody. You have to assimilate. You cannot sit at your own little booth and establish how it's going to be. It ain't going to work that way. Okay? So let me show you, describe to you. So again, it's more of an evasion, and they got to be laughing at us like crazy because nobody's even fired a shot. So I'm going to just give you an example of kind of how the whole thing works. Okay, so here it is, the long and short of it. When politically correct and culturally diverse societies agree to Muslim demands for their religious privileges, some other components tend to creep in as well. And here's basically the way it rolls, okay? As long as the Muslim population remains around 2% in any given country, they will be regarded as a peace-loving, minority just going to school, trying to fit in, the kids in school, and they might be still with the covered faces and all that stuff, but, so they're not a threat to anybody. And that's like in the United States, Norway, and so forth, Denmark, Germany, although they're trying to roll it, Germany's trying to go ahead and get some more in the bag. Now, once it gets to, say, 5%, all right, then that's a significant enough number that you can begin to talk to other aggrieved groups of your ilk and maybe convert some people. And street gangs and jails, by the way, are huge breeding points for these conversions and whatnot. And this is where a couple things: United Kingdom has 2.7%, Thailand has 4.6%, Spain 4%. Now here's where it gets fun. When 5% influence, from 5% population, they actually, because of their organization and because of their stick-to-itiveness and because of their following of their holy scripture, the Quran, they learn how to exercise an inordinate influence via their population size. And in America, we see that as well because this whole transgender thing, I'm not going to get off the subject, but the whole transgender, it's like this many people, yet, this Bruce Springsteen's canceling concerts and whatnot. So point is at this point in time, 5% is actually enough where you can begin to, demand some stuff at your supermarket and even begin to not go to that and let it be known that you're not going there and boycotting and whatnot. And I'll tell you, this is France, for example. They got 8% and change. Sweden has 5% Muslim. Netherlands, 5.5. At that point, guess what? They begin to work within the government, work within the system, using the existing rules, however, using those rules to their own advantages. And this is where they begin to exert the pressure to want to rule themselves in various what we call no-go zones.
We've been telling you all about France's no-go zones, hundreds of Muslim-controlled areas around Paris that outsiders and cops don't dare to explore. They chose just to give it up. We have them here in the United States, too. I bet you did not know that. Nearly 24 enclaves popping up across 9 different states. And watch what happens when a stranger or an outsider tries to step inside.
Have you on our land anymore? Come down there and you'll be arrested.
But your land is open to the public.
You're arrested if you come down.
I'm not being nice about it because I don't appreciate y'all. The way y'all came up here. Okay? Leave. Period. Leave. Period. Don't say another word.
Wow, that was scary. That really was scary. Kids, we can't have that in the United States. It does not jive with the principles that make any country great. Ridiculous. Incompatible. Now, but it gets even more fun than that. When the Muslim population approaches 10% of the population, lawlessness begins to increase. And, and that's where these no-go zones, a no-go zone? Get the fuck out of here. That's like trying to lock your room when your mom, Mom, I just think I need some privacy. Get the fuck out of here and knock that door right down, okay? So, these car burnings in Paris, and you've got the just increased lawlessness and generally failure to comply to even this, you begin to see lawsuits about people not wanting to wear wanting to wear burqas to their job, and the guys are like, no fucking way. We don't need any more reasons for you people to be covering your faces. Like Halloween, huge robbery day. All right, let's just see. Let's continue. So here's some countries with 10% and change when the Muslim population, again, if you want to assimilate, come on in. We don't need any of this bullshit. Kenya, 10%. Russia, stunningly, 15% Muslim. Now at 20%, okay, at 20% Muslim population, you can begin to expect hair trigger killings, rioting, jihad militia formations, burning of churches, kidnappings, and so forth. For example, in Ethiopia, where Muslims are 32.8%. I know that by heart. Now, it even gets more fun. At 40%, the nations have chronic widespread massacres, terror attacks, ongoing militia warfare, such as in all of our favorite places, Bosnia, back in the day, Chad, Lebanon, and of course our favorite Syria. All of those countries, 50% Muslim population. Now, at 60%, the nations have unbelievable persecution of non-believers of other religions, and even their own religion. Non-conforming Muslims, by the way, they can get the fucking hammer too, and that's how you're seeing the stonings and this and this and that. Now, why is there no massive media coverage, just for example, concerning the putrid, insanely poor treatment of women in all Muslim countries, and certainly wherever Sharia law is the law of the land.
So what are you going to do if they throw water bottles at us?
If that happens, then we'll take care of it. We'll address
We got it on video.
Okay, well, then you know that if you got it on video, then you can take it to the proper channels and try to find it.
I think you don't really want to pursue the law unless it's going to happen to us.
No, that's not true.
I think angry kids are maybe a little bit more vicious than
I
negative.
understand, okay? We're going to take care of that, okay? That's why we're here.
And so what happened, the reason why this is going on now is because of what happened last year. What happened last year is you allowed it to escalate into this. And so you guys just lost a lawsuit on free speech and you want to do it again.
Okay. Why don't you get us the bullpen that we asked for in the email?
Okay, well, that's a free speech zone, and the Chamber of Commerce decided that they did not want a free speech zone.
Ultimately, the goal is, as the book says, 100% Islam. That's it. So to say anything differently and not be politically correct, if you will, puts you in a real disadvantage. And I say to myself, but why? Why? I don't see what's in it for the U.S. I don't see what's in it for anybody. If you want to come here, do your thing. At 100% Muslim concentration, there's supposed to be tremendous peace, because everybody's a Muslim. The kids go to school, they're Muslim, and the Quran is the only word. That's Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Yemen. But the peace never really is achieved because the most radical Muslims still spew the hatred, because now you're not Muslim enough. They spew the hatred of the people who don't practice hard enough now, because what else is there to gripe about? Point is, it's an impossible situation drawn to its logical conclusion. It is incompatible with any American values worth a shit. And I'm just wondering, why do we bend over so far to accommodate this? To accommodate our own demise, if you will. This is why I made a big stink about immigration versus invasion. These guys aren't going to fire a shot. Plane here and there, whatever you're going to do. And I just don't understand what's in it for us.
These are the brothers of Revolution Muslim.
We tell you Muslims to rise up.
They are recruiting just outside New York's 96th Street Mosque.
That the Quran commands that you disavow and make hatred and enmity between democracy, between nationalism, between secularism, and that you see Obama as the enemy he really is. That you see the United States as the enemy it really is.
Youssef al-Khattab, a Jew who lived in Israel and abruptly converted to Islam, and Yunus Abdullah Muhammad, also a convert, both born and raised in the United States, a country whose way of life they say they hate. And if you are not a Muslim, they count you as a disbeliever. Their mission? To terrorize you.
We're commanded to terrorize the disbelievers. And this is a religion, like I said.
Commanded to terrorize the disbelievers?
The Quran says very clearly in the Arabic language, Turhibuna. This means terrorize them. It's a command from Allah.
Well, that's just great. Like I say, we just need more and more and more of that. Sounds great. Sounds like it's not really a humanitarian issue. You know what I mean? Guys like that, yeah, he's homegrown, but the ones over there are even worse. And here's the other thing I want to say. The problem that I really have, this all goes back to the assimilation or the lack thereof. You know what? I'm from North Carolina, and every time some redneck fuck did something stupid, and I heard about it, I'm like, oh, good God in heaven. And now they're going to think I'm that. Not only am I North Carolina, I'm whitey, but you know what? I'm quick to condemn. What a dumb shit. That's why I got out of that shithole North Carolina and came here to New York City. Let's hear a little bit more of that on the Muslim side.
Frightening examples of Islamic extremism right here in this country. Thousands of radical Islamists and so-called Islamic villages have been set up across the country. Now, look at this map. It shows the extensive reach from Los Angeles to New York, groups involved in guerrilla war training, imams calling for violent jihad, and instituting Sharia law.
Right. Viewers can go to clarionproject.org and see some of what's going on in their state. We have a section on our website called Islamist Organizations in America, referring to the radicals. And I think the fundamental issue here is that we've heard so much about al-Qaeda and ISIS, and we focus on the individuals that are setting off the bomb. You have to focus on the ideology as a whole. If you're calling for instituting Sharia or you're preaching anti-Americanism, you're creating the foundation for all of that to happen. You're part of the same problem.
In consideration of political correctness, where it applies to Muslims, because that's who we decided to pick on tonight. And by the way, next time, it's going to be Whitey is going to get the beat down. Establishment Whitey is going to get the beat down. But tonight, it was the Muslims. So, a Muslim, unassimilation. It just doesn't seem like, taken to its logical extremes, and I know, politically correct, I'm supposed to act like I don't know what's going on. But if I did know what was going on, I might surmise, you know what? It doesn't really take that much extrapolation to see where this is kind of going, especially when they say it. That's a dead giveaway. So anyway, we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can all learn to get together and love. But you know what? From what I see, you kids at home, Google the Pillars of Islam. See what they say. Go on. And see if that's compatible with what we consider American values, despite the fact that Barry's trying to tear them down at every possible opportunity. At any rate, you can keep in touch with us. You can email us, realwtfamerica@gmail.com. We got Facebook, same thing, WTF America. We got Twitter, we got the whole thing. Mostly, we love you.
What the fuck America did to me? Trickery or conspiracy? Good white girl, not Hillary, kidding me. Nothing gonna change my sensibility. Life's a bitch, give it all the chivalry. Overheard in a broke man's soliloquy. Bust guns off, break them down lyrically. Ring bells, I'm talking about liberty. Not tripping, shit got cigarette. Far from the truth in which proximity? Real authenticity, can't rate well when you're false officially. Leave marks, leave parts of history. Who do we charge for the scars initially? Watch your enemies. Everybody brother ended up shot Kennedys.